ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and this is exactly what President Donald Trump wanted to hear. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, please visit that address in the lower right-hand corner. It's youtube.com/@explainamerica, and hit subscribe absolutely free. It really helps us out. Winning at the Supreme Court is what it's all about. When Trump made all these changes to government, the firings and the cutting of, and he's going to cut, by the way, the Department of Education, but cutting these departments, cutting these agencies, and he's really gearing up with the Department of Education one. When he did it, the goal wasn't, I'm going to do this and nobody's going to challenge me. The assumed idea was every single thing I do, the Democrats are taking me to court. They said they were going to, because they have no other power anymore. And the assumption is they're going to get judges that are sympathetic to their cause. So what's the goal? The goal is get them to the Supreme Court. I told you guys this from January 20th, that was the goal. And of course I'm correct, because anybody that does this for a living would know that. And so Trump's getting exactly what he wants. And now a CNN legal expert says, yeah, Trump did get stopped here on this one thing by this judge, and the judge was probably right, but the judge was also overly political in the decision, and Trump's going to win at the Supreme Court most likely. I want you to take a look at this and let me know what you think in the comments.
A federal judge has just ruled tonight that President Trump's firing of the National Labor Relations Board chair was illegal. In a scathing decision that came out, we heard from the U.S. District Court Judge Beryl Howell, who wrote, quote, "An American president is not a king, not even an elected one, and his power to remove federal officers and honest civil servants like plaintiff is not absolute, but may be constrained in appropriate circumstances as present here. It's the third time in less than a week that we've seen a federal judge rule that President Trump's firing of independent agency heads is unlawful." My top legal source tonight is CNN's senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig. And Ellie, what did you make of the ruling? Were you surprised by this?
Not surprised at all, Caitlin, because most fundamentally, Donald Trump broke the law, and he doesn't even contend otherwise. Now, Congress passed a law saying that this particular NLRB official can only be removed if there's notice and a hearing and good cause. Trump didn't care. He just said you're fired without regard to any of those things. But the key thing to keep in mind here is Donald Trump is not playing for the district court, the trial court, where we were today. He's playing for the Supreme Court, and he knows that this case or one of the other firing cases is going to make its way up to the Supreme Court, where he will argue that it's unconstitutional for Congress to pass those kind of laws because he's in charge of the executive branch, and he will argue he can do what he wants within the executive branch. Would not surprise me to see the Supreme Court take one of those cases. Would not surprise me to see Trump win in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, obviously, everyone's been watching Justice Amy Coney Barrett, especially when it comes to how she sided with the other justices on the USAID funding. But on this tonight, what Judge Howell did right is at one point, she said the president who touts an image of himself as a king or as a dictator, perhaps as his vision of effective leadership, fundamentally misapprehends the role. She accuses him of exactly what you're laying out there. A court to test the presidency and the limits of it.
I think that is an overstatement by the judge, and frankly, a misstatement of Donald Trump's actual legal argument in this case. I think the judge is actually getting quite political there in a way that undermines her credibility. Donald Trump is making a perfectly reasonable good faith argument that as the elected head of the executive branch, he controls the executive branch. That is very much in dispute. That's a reasonable argument to make. That's not the same thing as saying he's a king, or in another part of the decision, the judge even refers to his comments that he's a dictator. That's outside stuff. That's political. I think it was inappropriate and not even correct for the judge to characterize it that way.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the context here, we've seen the judges siding against Trump in 3 rulings. We've also seen with Hampton Dellinger, who has been fighting his way through the court system when it comes to federal watchdogs that are being fired. He dropped his case today after losing that. We'll see where these limits go. Ellie Honig, as always, great to have you. Thank you. And thanks to everyone joining us tonight. CNN News Night with Abby Phillip is up next.